Southwest Topeka has a good neighbor. State Farm agent Jim Garrison, now at 29th and Urish. If your current insurance situation has you going around in circles, get off the roundabout and stop in and meet Jim and his wonderfully efficient staff. Let Jim Garrison give you a quote and make the Garrison comparison. He's confident that with State Farm's competitive rates, the right coverage, and his unmatched service, you'll want to make him your new insurance agent. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there, and Jim Garrison is there for you, northeast of the roundabout at 29th and Urish.
When someone has a passion for what they do, it comes through in the product they provide their customers. Just ask LaRocco's Pizza's new owner, Jason Johnson, about their crust. They make it every day and let it rise for a minimum of 24 hours before they use it for their pizza. And his staff doesn't want to do anything they won't be the best at, and you can taste it in their pizza. LaRocco's Pizza, just a half block north of the I-470 and Gage Boulevard exit. Come taste the difference.
It's time for Real Estate 101 with the Carrie Brown team from Preferred Advisors.
Good Saturday morning to you. This is Carrie Brown, Associate Broker with eXp Realty and the Preferred Advisors team. We have Broderick Jayroe here today, and he is my guest co-host for the month. Last week we were talking about equity trading. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. We'll also talk about 1031 exchanges. And let's start off, Broderick. What is the strangest thing you've seen people trade?
I had a guy trade snakes and a Ford pickup for real property, for a build lot.
Snakes?
He had snakes and other chattel is what we call personal property, but he didn't have cash, so. But he had a collection of snakes, and the guy that was selling the property wanted some reptiles, and so they negotiated value and balanced their equities and traded personal property for real property.
So I take it these weren't like ring necks? Were they like?
I would love to tell you that I know what they were, and I saw the box that they were in when they did the exchange. I have no clue what they were. I don't know if they were little snakes or big snakes, or I'm not a reptile guy. I have a dog. That's what I know about animals, and I have cattle. I guess that's not true. I could tell you what cattle's worth, but not snakes.
I know in class, because part of the equity exchange, the group that we were in Vegas, there's education involved, which is really, really helpful. And one of them was talking about a deal that started out with just a mobile home. Nobody wanted this thing. Like, nobody wanted it. But it was the start of it. So there was a fellow that wanted to sell his $400,000 house. He wanted to buy $1 million property, but he needed to be able to get out of all of it. Well, the $1 million guy was like, I want to downsize. So he took the $400,000, but they were off by like $25,000 getting the whole deal together. And that is where the mobile home came in. It's just really interesting how everybody traded all that out to make it happen. And there were about 6 different hands in that.
With any deal, if you have a motivated buyer and a motivated seller, maybe they're not exactly together on terms and values, or one might be offering something different for a property than what the seller's willing to take. But if they have an open mind, we can get them both to where they want to be. It just may take 2 or 3 steps.
It definitely changes the way you look at real estate, though, because in the conventional world and the way we do it every day, you put a house on the market, you market it, and then you hope that you get a buyer that loves it. And that's just the standard of what goes into it. This is a whole different playing field. It's like it just takes that and throws it out the window and makes it all just this massive exchange to get you where you want to be. So it definitely takes, it is very creative and addictive even.
It is addictive, and it's this is obviously what you and I do for a living. We do, in the most general terms, we do real estate brokerage. But it's a relationship business first and foremost, and it's problem solving. And if you don't enjoy relationships and problem solving and helping people, and that's what we do, we help buyers and sellers transact, it's the wrong business, because there's never enough money to offset all of the different paths you will go on for just money's sake. A good friend of mine who is a master exchanger had an involvement in a hotel project in the Dakotas. I don't know the town. I don't have this permission to use his name, but he would love to be a guest on your show someday. He's a very creative mind. He had a situation where they owned a hotel and it needed remodeled, but they didn't have the remodel budget. But they found somebody that had ITEX credits, which is a nationwide barter exchange, and a lot of exchangers use ITEX credits. It's perfectly legitimate. You get 1099s, you get taxed on it, but you have a method where you can accumulate a lot of dollar amounts in an account, and their limited remodel budget, they found a third party who wanted to participate in this remodel or the ownership or the equity on this project. Just happened to have a few $100,000 in ITEX credits that they could go and put carpet and windows in their apartment or their hotel project. So they gave up some equity, but they picked up much needed capital that didn't exist. And in this particular part of the country at this particular point in time, there wasn't bank funding available for this project. But they turned the hotel project around. Everybody made well on their investment, and it was creative thinking. If they would have never ever raised enough capital to put the carpet in this hotel. But by thinking outside of the box and using barter and legitimate LLCs and partnerships, it was a win-win-win for everybody. And to this day, the hotel runs and is profitable, and has a successful restaurant, and it's a destination event. It's a beautiful project.
Talking about trading things out, and we mentioned 1031 exchanges, and I'm going to use the Manhattan project that we were talking about last week again. In this particular one, pretty much everything is sheltered inside of a 1031 exchange, so it's a little bit different than just putting a house on the market and selling it. There's a lot that goes into moving things in and out of a 1031 exchange, which is the reason why it's not like your standard, just everyday deal. And that's the reason why his are packaged off in different packages. You wouldn't have to buy the whole $28.5 million in properties, but he didn't want to just stick a sign in each yard and do each individual sale.
Correct. So it allows an investor to come in, and so they're not in a 1031 yet. But when somebody identifies, say they want to spend $1 million on a number of the duplexes because that's what their investment portfolio focuses on, you can come in and you have to declare inside of a transaction, a real estate transaction, whether you are the buyer or the seller, you have to declare it inside of your contract for purchase that you are participating in a 1031 tax exchange. And the proper terminology is a 1031 deferred tax exchange, but there are certain constraints. For instance, let's say you pay $100,000 for a property, and you hold that property for 30 years. And through appreciation and the benefits of ownership, and there are numerous benefits to real estate ownership, you get ready to sell it, and you have depreciated it completely out on your taxes. And you now realize the property is not $100,000 anymore, but maybe it's $1 million, just to use nice round numbers. Well, if you just sold the property for $1 million, you will pick up. You're going to be in the middle of a taxable event. You're going to owe taxes, and I don't even pretend to know how those formulas work. That's why I have a CPA. But you're going to pay some taxes unless you enter into a 1031 tax exchange and declare it inside of the real estate sales contract. So let's assume for the sake of this conversation, there's no debt against the property, and you sell it for $1 million. You, at the closing table, let's say you close today, that money is now held by an exchange company, and you have 45 days to recognize the property you would like to exchange into. It can even be a more expensive property or multiple less expensive properties, but you just can't touch any of that money, and you only have 45 days to let the exchange company know these are the addresses we want to close on, or the potential addresses. You can identify more than one. Then you have a total of 180 days from the day you close the first property until you close your new identified property, because you may have appraisals involved, you may have surveys involved, there could be a number of underwriting processes. You can effectively defer your capital gains tax to a future transaction, or you can go into an estate or a trust and continue that deferred tax event. But it's a great way to build wealth, and Carrie and I can counsel you on this or help you with this. It's through the real estate portion of that on a what we call a like-kind exchange, real estate for real estate. There are other types of exchanges out there, but that's not what I deal in. We deal in real estate, but it's a great wealth-building tool. And then you have safe harbor rules, and you're going to have 2 or 3 different, or you're going to have several opinions on that. Your CPA might tell you need to wait a year. You might have other counsel, or your attorney might tell you need to wait 2 years. A number of my clients, they get counsel that says they need to wait 2 years to meet their safe harbor requirements. And so when we're investing for those clients, we'll stick to that 2-year rule. But I wouldn't be underserving any point of this conversation to tell you that they're looking the second they close on their next property. They're looking for the next deal. How can they improve the value of this property? What can they, can they raise the rents? Can they do some landscaping to make it more valuable? They try to buy strategically in developing areas where the properties are trending upwards, or they try to buy vacant lots and improve them. But from the day they close, they're looking for a way to increase that value so that in 2 or 3 or 4 years even, that they've got something else to exchange into on another property. You have simultaneous exchanges you can do. You have reverse exchanges, forward exchanges. There are different complex scenarios that a good title company and exchange company can help guide you on. We can tell you the basics. The exchangers are the ones that actually hold the money in an escrow account. But it is a neat way, if you plan your portfolio or your real estate transactions, that you can for some taxes and increase your wealth. It's a great investment tool.
And it's not just investment properties. For instance, we have the winery I do up in Ozaki, Crooked Post, and that particular one, if you thought about it, if you had another business and it wasn't what you wanted to do forever, and you wanted to switch that out and actually purchase the winery, maybe they wouldn't want what you have, but we could go out and find someone who would, so that they could ultimately, settle up with the winery and all is good. Same kind of scenario. I have a ranch, and we had several offers on that one, but they were specific things like a property and it was 2 condos, and it was an island. It was Puerto Rico. So 2 different condos in Puerto Rico, and then some land in Colorado to build on. That could have worked for one of the parties, but not the other one. So neither of those are, one is an investment property, obviously the winery is, the other one's a home. Same thing with another house here in town. Those scenarios, it's just finding what fits. And if it doesn't fit them exactly, maybe it fits somebody else, and you just keep sliding people in till you can make the whole thing work.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned, the ranch and the winery. Hot trend right now are assisted living facilities. And not everybody wants to own or run the business, but they want to own the real estate. Some people just want to own the real estate, and occasionally we'll get an investor that, those are two different businesses, the real estate for an assisted living, and or then you've got the actual business of the assisted living, which is a alternative to traditional, like a care home facility. So there's a lot of different angles to go at it, and everybody has their own niches.
It's really all about being creative, and it is already commercial time again. Wow, this time goes fast with you. We're going to take a quick break for a word from our sponsors, and we'll be right back. Thanks for listening to Real Estate 101.
When someone has a passion for what they do, it comes through in the product they provide their customers. Just ask LaRocco's Pizza's new owner, Jason Johnson, about their crust. They make it every day and let it rise for a minimum of 24 hours before they use it for their pizza. And his staff doesn't want to do anything they won't be the best at, and you can taste it in their pizza. LaRocco's Pizza, just a half block north of the I-470 Engage Boulevard exit. Come taste the difference.
At SportsMomsUnited.com, we celebrate every athlete and support every sports mom. SportsMomsUnited.com is on a mission to put logic back in youth sports. When you ask young athletes why they play sports, their number one answer is fun. For them, that means being on a team, making new friends, having a good time, all of which are awesome memories. We add to the memories by featuring an athlete of the day and sharing their story. Nominate an athlete today at www.sportsmomsunited.com.
It's the season for brand new mulch, and Brown's Tree Service has got your yard covered. Brown's Tree Service utilizes hardwood mulch that retains more moisture. Not only does mulch make your yard more appealing, it also reduces weeds, improves soil, and creates insulation for plants. Get the right mulch for your job at Brown's Tree Service. They shred it, haul it, and spread it in bulk. Or you can haul it yourself for the personal touch to your property. Call Brown's Tree Service at 785-379-9212 or visit online at brownstreeservicelc.com.
Thanks for joining us again. This is Carrie Brown, Associate Broker with eXp Realty and the Preferred Advisors team. You're listening to Real Estate 101. I am back with Broderick Jayroe, and I probably should mention that he is also a broker. He's a broker with ERA, so he's my competitor in a different area. But we
spend more time doing deals together than competing against each other.
Yeah, he's in Wichita. It's not like he's my competition, but he's definitely a good friend, and he's taught me over the years quite a bit. I mean, I definitely can say I've learned more from him than I probably have learned from just about anybody else. So let's talk about getting into these exchange club. They're not clubs, but groups. I'm going to let you do that because obviously you invited me in, and let's just talk about how that works.
Well, first and foremost, you have to be a licensed real estate broker. They won't. So if you have no interest in going through and getting licensed and going through the expense and the time, then affiliate with a broker that can get your investment wants and needs into some of these meetings. So the one that Carrie and I have gone to together is typically held in Nevada, Las Vegas specifically, but everybody assumes you're going to gamble. I'm just not a gambler. I go, I'm in the meeting all day long. We trade. It's just a neat central location for a lot of brokers to meet 4 or 5 times a year.
Frankly, so you need a nap when it's over too. Because you need a nap, yeah, when it's done. You
do. You sleep on the airplane coming home, and we stay at the Tuscany. It's just a neat, very low key, affordable location they do a really good job there. But it is mentally exhausting. You are in the morning to 5 o'clock in the afternoon. It's go, and then you have breakout meetings where you network with brokers, discuss deals. But if you want to go in as a broker, give us a call. We can introduce you to the folks and get you in. If you have to receive an invitation. But that's not the only one. There's lots of regional brokerages. Wichita has a couple of small networking meetings a year, and then a large one every 4 or 5 years. They've got them in Texas, Arizona, California. And when I say regional, it's literally people from that area. And then, people like myself, I like to go to the regionals because I will meet some of the brokers that go to the larger conferences. And it's really about relationships and having these other brokers cell numbers in your telephone, and you giving them a call. Hey, I'm thinking about trading into a property in South Carolina. How far are you from, you name the town. And if they're not close, they'll know somebody that's close, and they'll go look at the property for us and say, you don't want that lot. Don't even consider it. It's got a 40-foot drop from the front to the back. You can't build anything on it. It's all rocky. Or, wow, it's got a great view. So just the networking and wanting to do it. You can reach out to Carrie anytime or myself, and we'd be glad to talk with you and introduce you to the folks that can bring you in.
Let's say you have a property that you want to unload. You're, like I said earlier, actually last week at the beginning of the show, you're ready to move on and do something else, whether it be investment properties or it's your home and you're tired of snow. You want to go west or south or, somewhere where there's not snow. Definitely give us a call. And we can look at it and say, okay, hey, this could work. Like I said, I had mentioned one where I have a property that's near a lake. It's actually overlooking a lake out west, and he wants to move to Arizona when he retires. Not right now, but eventually. And so it's just trading out those properties. And that may end up taking 3 to 4 different people, but it's totally doable. So definitely reach out if that's what you're looking for too. Not just, not everybody's a broker. Not everybody wants to go learn this. What I will tell you, it's a lot of fun. It definitely changed my mind about real estate altogether.
Yeah, and many times we'll have experts. Maybe you've inherited a property. Maybe you had a great long lost uncle that nobody knew was there, and you were named in the will. And you've got this property. You've had it for several years. You don't know what to do with it. Maybe it's a single family home in a northern state, or just something you don't have a need for, and you don't want to be a landlord, but you would like a second home in Florida or in Arizona. We've got affiliates and relationships in all of those areas, and there's probably not an area you could come up with that we either directly or indirectly won't know somebody. Maybe you can do a simultaneous exchange. Maybe we can help you create a note against your paid-for property, and you get an income off of it, or use that note to purchase a property in another part of the country that you want to live at all the time or part of the time. It's literally, if you can think it up, we can give you scenarios that could help you transition outside of just going cash.
Absolutely. And that's the really cool thing about being a broker of a company. You get to know so many different people and have opportunities that it's a little bit different than just selling real estate every day. You get to know people from all over. I know for me specifically, getting to know people through my radio, advertising, television, entertainment group, which is obviously Barbara Corcoran, all of those guys, they're from all over. But they are still, for the most part, still doing real estate the traditional way. So when Broderick introduced me to this group, it was so mind-blowing. Literally all I wanted to do was sleep whenever I was done. It's just your brain is constantly thinking, this would work for this person, this would work for this person. I need to find somebody because I think I could make that work.
Takes several hours to unpack every day and go through. You're taking notes as fast as you can go. It's continuous information, and it is exciting. my only regret is that the days aren't twice as long, and I only needed to have as much rest. But I never even conceived. You hear the terminology Airbnb thrown around a lot, and so I've studied that a little bit. And I know I've got some friends that do it, but I ran into a group that's all they do is vacation rentals. Completely different mindset. And we mentioned, I think earlier on this session, we talked about assisted living. It's a very neat, way to pursue real estate and help people at the same time. So literally anything you can imagine, and that's, I love real estate for that reason. It is so diverse. But networking groups like the ones that Carrie and I attend, they have somebody for about anything you can imagine that's inside of these organizations.
So to give you an idea of what this room's like, basically you're only allowed to put so many presentations in at a time because obviously everybody in the room has to have adequate time to do their presentation. And you go up. Sometimes you have a moderator, sometimes you don't. Mine was very energetic. And I had to tell him, listen, you're killing me, Smalls, several times because I was like, I'm not done with this part. Let me finish this sentence real quick.
They direct you and they drive you for specific performance.
They do. And then at that point, you've presented what you have, and then it's opened up to the room. Think of it like an auction. Like everybody's raising their little flag kind of thing. Well, they're yelling out numbers. They're saying this package would be interested in your package. So every package has its own specific number. So it's very much like an auction, but it's saying, listen, this property would be interested in your property, or this, this paper, if for no other term other than, like notes or whatever, would like to trade out for your property if your seller would be interested. So it's very, very creative.
It is very creative, and I've gone to probably 24 meetings, and there some moderators are much kinder and gentler than others. We hit some grumpy ones yesterday, and they would just yell back at the presenter, "That's not what I asked you. Stick to the subject." And in your case, you did very well, and you actually got a round of applause, and I think voted best package of the day or of the session. But
it's not very often I get like an applause like that. I thought everybody got them.
No, it was very inspiring. You did a very good job, and for sure got a lot of traction for your client. And here we are months later, and they're still talking about your package, and does she still have it? I'm like, yeah, you got her number. You should have called her. But you've been able to serve your client at a high level and give them some ideas on how to maybe better package some of your properties to transition.
Yeah. We missed the cutoff on this one, but we are definitely going to be presenting it on the next one. And actually, I think in that round I had, 6? And I will have at least 8 the next time. So, but again, you have to share time with everybody. So that doesn't mean you can always get your stuff right in front of everybody. So it's really handy, and I will be emailing everybody to say, hey, yes, it is still here. All of them are. Yeah.
And the follow-up is critical, and I know you did a good job of that. In fact, you stalked one of the members at a high level, and
I stalked 11 of them at a high level.
and at least one of them told me that story when I ran into him this week. So he's like, "You're Topeka lady, boy. That broker, she's a go-getter. She was all over us." So.
Yeah, we just got to get it pieced together correctly. But believe it or not, we're already out of time again. So Broderick will be back again next week. We'll talk more. Actually, I think we're going to talk about what it's like to be a real estate broker or real estate agent and how to be successful at it. And if you're looking to buy or sell, be sure and give me a call at 785-213-5188. Be sure and check out our website at Preferred Advisors Team. And Broderick, how would they get a hold of you?
They can reach us at 316-722-9393.
Thanks for joining us on Real Estate 101.
Thank you for listening to Real Estate 101 with the Carrie Brown team from Preferred Advisors.